Meet Felix Johnson McCord. His life fits squarely within the generation that bridged the devastation of the Civil War and the modernization of Texas law and politics in the early 20th century. What makes him particularly notable is not only the length of his service, but the range of influence he exercised at every level of government he touched. Born in 1848 in Tishomingo County, Mississippi, then a frontier region that would later become part of Alcorn County, McCord came of age during the collapse of the antebellum South. Like many young men of his generation, his early years were shaped by wartime disruption, Reconstruction politics, and the westward pull of opportunity. When he arrived in East Texas in 1867, Longview itself was barely a decade old, still forming its legal and civic identity. McCord essentially grew up alongside the town he would help govern. After reading law, as was common in the period, McCord quickly established a reputation for careful legal reasoning and a disciplined courtroom presence. His election as district attorney placed him at the center of post-Reconstruction justice in East Texas, a region grappling with railroad expansion, land disputes, and the legal aftershocks of emancipation. His prosecutorial work emphasized order and institutional stability, qualities that later defined his judicial career. McCord's 12 years as state district judge for the 7th Judicial District, 1884-1896, marked the core of his public life. On the bench, he presided over cases involving property law, commercial disputes, and criminal prosecutions at a time when East Texas was rapidly transforming from an agrarian society into an industrial and railroad-driven economy. Contemporary accounts describe him as methodical rather than theatrical, favoring precedent and statutory clarity over political grandstanding. This reputation earned him respect across party and regional lines. Parallel to his judicial service, McCord maintained a long and influential legislative career, representing Gregg County in the Texas House of Representatives. Across multiple non-consecutive terms, he became a reliable authority on legal reform, judicial structure, and regulatory policy. His repeated returns to office suggest that constituents viewed him less as a partisan figure and more as a steady institutional guardian, someone who understood both the letter and spirit of the law. Nationally, McCord's most significant moment came in 1908, when he served as an assistant attorney general for Texas in the Standard Oil antitrust litigation before the U.S. Supreme Court. This case placed Texas among the states challenging corporate monopolies at the height of the Progressive Era. McCord's participation reflected both his legal stature and his alignment with the growing belief that unchecked corporate power threatened public welfare. Though often overshadowed by federal figures, his role demonstrated that Texas was not merely reacting to national reform, but actively shaping it. In his later years, McCord remained active in public life almost until his death in 1922. By then, he had become a living symbol of continuity, one of the last major figures whose career stretched from Reconstruction-era Texas into the modern age of regulated industry and professionalized government. Felix Johnson McCord is remembered today not for flamboyance or singular dramatic acts, but for something rarer, nearly half a century of steady, competent service during one of the most turbulent and formative periods in Texas history. His personal life. Felix Johnson McCord married Gabriella Fuller on November 15, 1873, in Coffeyville, Texas, and together they built a large family that reflected the norms of professional households in East Texas during the late 19th century. Gabriella was his lifelong partner through the height of his legal and political career, and the couple had at least 10 children, at least 3 sons and 7 daughters, who were raised during a period when the region was transitioning from a post-Civil War frontier society into a more settled and modernized community. While Felix McCord's public life as a lawyer, judge, legislator, and antitrust advocate is well documented, details about Gabriella and the individual lives of their children are preserved mainly in census records, family registers, and local archival sources, underscoring the private, domestic foundation that supported his nearly 50 years of public service. On April 28, 1922, exactly 74 years and 2 months after his birth, Felix Johnson McCord, a man whose life was a finely kept ledger, closed his eyes in Longview, Texas, accepting his final rest as a perfectly balanced account. Rest in peace, Felix.